Good morning.
Good morning.
Wow, you just look so fabulous today. I just want to spend a minute saying, good morning, y'all look great.
So do you.
I'm Reverend C.C. Coltrane. Welcome to Center for Spiritual Living, Greater Dayton. Here we honor and draw from and learn from all of the world's spiritual and religious traditions. So in a few minutes we'll do an interfaith candle lighting, and that's why we do it. If it's your first time here, we want to welcome you especially, and thank you for sharing your morning with us. On your bulletin is a little tear-off strip where you can give us, I think she wants to hear the band. She's one of those people screaming, more music, less talk, more music, less talk. Let me talk for just a moment, though. As I was saying, there's a little tear-off strip on your program. You can put your contact information there. If you give us your email address, we will send you on usually on Wednesday, but sometime midweek, a little spiritual pick-me-up message. And just not very often, we don't abuse our email privileges, but we'll let you know about special events that are coming up around here. You can fill that out and take it to the Welcome Center after the service, or you can just put it in the offering basket as it comes around. And what we do with those is not only send you an email about a little spiritual pick-me-up, but we also count them up and donate $1 to a local charity in your behalf for every one of those that we receive. Our pulpit is I have to tell you that, first of all, I led a retreat Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then this last weekend I taught church management and organization Friday and Saturday, so that meant I just talked for like 10 hours. So my tongue's a little scrambled. I'll try and rearrange it.
You're that person that reads, right?
Yes. Our pulpit assistant this morning is Marge Russell. Who just realized that, I think. And our vigil holder is Judy Nussmacher. Our interfaith candle lighting will be done by Jerry Blumgold and Lenza Smith. As I told you why we do the interfaith candle lighting. Woo! So who's with our kids today? Carol Huseman, yay! And Jen with our older kids, our tweens and teens. Teens and tweens, there we go. So the kids, you can make your way over towards Carol, or teens and tweens towards Jen and her beautiful daughters. And while we do that, we're going to sing to you.
Ready? You are? 1, 2, 3.
Behold, I give you a wise and discerning mind, so that none like you has ever been before you, and none like you shall arise after you. The second candle is lit in honor of Christianity. Let each one test his own work, and then his reason to boast will be in himself alone and not in his neighbor. The third candle is lit in honor of Hinduism. The Hindu scriptures say that two things are needed for any kind of creative activity: consciousness and energy. Consciousness is worshipped in the form of Shiva, and energy in the form of the Divine Mother, Shakti. The initial creative inspiration, the effort to give it form, and the end result, all are seen as being the grace of the divine. The fourth candle is lit in honor of Islam. Allah has granted human beings with the capacity to create and has left it for them to develop. The fifth candle is lit in honor of Taoism. Give birth to and nourish all things without desiring to possess them. Give of yourself without expecting something in return. Assist people, but do not attempt to control them. This is how to realize the deep virtue of the universe. The sixth candle is lit in honor of Sikhism. Created in God's own image, every human being is creative, for life itself has been created as a self-renewing, self-sustaining creative process. The final candle is lit in honor of Buddhism. All experiences are preceded by mind, having mind as their master, created by mind.
Not only human beings, but everything in nature is endowed with this creative urge. When moisture is precipitated, the desert receives it with gladness and brings forth in a song of creation. Making the most of its brief season, it blossoms in joy, storing within its bosom the seed of a future flowering. It is impossible to escape this creative urge. And let's take these words into our hearts and minds and just contemplate them for a few moments. And in this beautiful spring morning, we are certainly reminded of creation all around us. As we see blossoms appearing and the trees just filling with green leaves and the beauty of life just taking form. And we're reminded that that same beauty is taking form in our own lives and in the life of this community as we come together. We are creative. We see our good. And we honor it. We magnify it. We allow it to just flow. And realize that together we're more than we are individually. We bring something to this community and to the greater community, and we are so grateful for this. So grateful for our time together and our realization that there is indeed a law of good and that we're a part of it. We see it expressing all around us, and we just rejoice in it. And we are grateful. Thank you. Amen.
So I only ever got one F in my many years of schooling. I collect degrees, you know. But I flunked high school art. And the reason I flunked high school art was because I had a huge abscess tooth that had to be fixed and pulled and then replaced with a bridge. And so that I wasn't there enough to, I guess, to do the work. But I have this feeling that if I had had any artistic aptitude at all, that the teacher might have found a way to pass me. But the truth is I don't. I am not artistically gifted. And when I was a kid, I let that convince me that that meant I wasn't creative. I think it happens to a lot of us. You know, we begin life wildly creative. I don't know about you, but I sailed an upside down ottoman throughout the universe. I went everywhere in my spaceship. We build blanket forts and we play dress up and we act out plays for our indulgent relatives. Terrible plays. And we sing songs and we make up stuff all the time. And then around sometime around age 9, maybe we're creating a yellow horse out of clay and somebody says, that doesn't look like a horse. Or they see us painting and they say, maybe you should try a different form of expression. Or they hear us singing and they wince and say, ooh, you can't carry a tune. Something like that happens and we become convinced we're not creative. And so we withdraw. We stop taking big risks like standing up to deliver our lines in some play or singing a song that speaks to our heart. We start to conform to the idea of who we are that other people give us. And sometimes that means that we believe people when they tell us that we can't or that we're not creative in one way or another. But really, the truth is that we're all creative all the time. Everything we do is an act of creation. Everything we think is creative. Our words are creative. You may not be gifted in a particular art form, but art is only one slice of how creativity shows up in our world. We are all creating all the time. You know, the Bible and the Gita, and you heard the Sikh scriptures today tell us that we're creative because we're created in the image and likeness of the creative power that made everything, that holds the universe together. That's what we're created in the image and likeness of. So how could we not be creative, right? It would be an impossibility. We're each a manifestation of that creative urge of the universe. And when we remember that, we can maybe take a different look at our innate creativity and begin to change the way we view ourselves. Once we have a little creative confidence, we begin to paint our lives with bolder strokes. We begin to do things in bigger ways everywhere in our lives. When we gain a little creative confidence, we can flip that viewpoint that we picked up when we were kids that said, you're not creative. We change our way of thinking about ourselves. We begin to create newly. You know, some of us begin to create new ways of earning money, new ways of doing relationship, new ways of speaking and being in the world. We change all sorts of stuff. And I think right now what our individual lives and our world really, really need are new ways of doing things, bolder strokes, bigger, risk-taking, I want to tell you a story about a man named Doug Dietz. He's worked for General Electric for many, many years. He's a nerd. He's an engineer. He builds MRI scanners. He's not a creative type. And here's what happened to him. Well, first if you haven't had an MRI, you can talk to Mark, because he had one. They make you lie on a bed, and the bed goes in this tunnel, and there's all sorts of loud noises and whirring, and you don't get to move. You have to hold still throughout the whole process. It's kind of a weird thing, but it gives a finely tuned picture of what's going on inside our bodies. So what happened to Doug Dietz, this engineer from GE, is he had just upgraded and created and re-engineered the MRI scanner, and he was very, very proud of it. So we went to the hospital where it had been installed, and it was a pediatric radiology ward, and he said to the technician, "What do you think of that scanner? Pretty cool, huh? It's been nominated for an engineering award. What do you think about it?" And the technician said, "Could you please step it into the hallway? I have a patient who needs a scan." So he stepped out into the hallway, and he saw this frail, fragile little girl holding onto her parents' hands. And she was terrified. And her, chin was quivering, and tears were starting to show up in her eyes. And as they walked by towards the scanner, Dad said to his daughter, "Remember, honey, we talked about this. You can be brave." Well, she burst into tears, walked into the suite, and the attendant, the operator of the machine, called the anesthesiologist. And Doug Dietz talked to that operator and found that up to 80% of children have to be sedated to take an MRI because it's so terrifying for them. He felt like a total failure. He thought, I'm scaring the children that I'm here to help. And they have to be anesthetized, and if there's no anesthesiologist available, they have to postpone their scan, and that just adds to everybody's stress and strain. He had an epiphany in that moment, and he realized that this sleek, elegant machine he had created to a child looks like a big, scary, loud machine that you have to get inside of. It's not good. So he felt like a total failure. But instead of letting that feeling of failure last, he started thinking about it a little bit differently. He went home and started trying to think outside his nerd box, outside the box of engineering, and he said, what can I do to find out more about what this experience is like for people? So we went to a human-centered design and innovation workshop, and then he started to talk to doctors and nurses at children's hospitals and people that are called child life specialists who try to help sick kids reconstruct their lives. And then he started to mess around with what he had. And he wound up redesigning, reconceptualizing not only the scanner but the whole suite for kids. He put a big decal on the opening of the MRI that looked like a big ship's boat wheel. And he decorated the bed of the scanner so it looked like the prow of a ship. And he plastered decals over every surface in the whole suite, and he turned it into a pirate ship. And he wrote a script for the operator so that the operator could guide the child through an adventure rather than an ordeal. He had the operator say, okay, now you're gonna what's the word I'm looking for? Stow away on this pirate ship. So when you get inside, you have to be really quiet so they don't find you. And then so you get inside the pirate ship and you're real quiet and real still, and when you get out to the other side, you get to take a prize out of the pirate's chest and take it home. And then he created another one that was a spaceship and a script for the operator so that the kid gets in the spaceship and goes on a space adventure. And when the noises in the MRI get really loud, the operator says to the child, now listen really closely, you'll hear the ship shift into hyperdrive. I mean, this was brilliant stuff, right? And his greatest moment was when he was standing there talking to a mother whose child had just been through the MRI, and the little girl came running out and started pulling on her mom's clothes and said, "Mommy, Mommy, can we come back tomorrow?" He said, "Wow, I really did something right." And I don't know about you, but I call that change in the world. That's changing the world in a little way. And what he gained from that was such creative confidence that he started to think about life in every part of his life in a different way. He started to paint with a bolder stroke, and he became like the idea man for GE in general, the creative idea man. This is a guy who never considered himself creative. It's a mindset flip, and when we flip that switch, it lets us develop confidence in our own creative abilities. That lets us not only dream bigger dreams, but achieve those bigger dreams. Our founder, Ernest Holmes, said, "Our thought is the mold, and our conviction is the molten substance poured into the mold. One is not complete without the other." And many people make the mistakes of using only one of these essential states of consciousness. And creativity lets us use all of that. It lets us better use the innate powers of thought that we were born with. Our creativity, yes, but also our memory and our vision and our imagination, as well as our powers of conviction and will, so that we can create the experience and the world that we want to see. And so how do we develop creative confidence? I think one of the first things that we do is let ourselves go into places that are unfamiliar, because we get inspired when we put ourselves in new territory. We see things differently. We interact with people, including ourselves, sort of in a different place. We start to have empathy for what someone else is experiencing in the place we are, in the place we normally know what's going on. When we take ourselves out of the unfamiliar into our old familiar territory, we see it differently. And when we start to look for fertile ground in what inspires us, if there's something that you see in the world and you just go, "Wow, that is so cool," we start to look for fertile ground there. Where are the places where we can experiment in finding new solutions? And then we do just that. We experiment. We try stuff out. We create a prototype in our minds or on paper or maybe in yellow clay, and we say, "Wonder how that would work." We just try stuff out. See, the divine flow is always moving through us. And the currency of that divine flow is ideas. So if we start to let the ideas flow instead of saying, "I'm not creative, that'll never work," we censor ourselves so much. Instead of censoring our ideas, we just look at them and say, I wonder if that would work. And we play with them in our minds, and we start to find the ones that really light us up, that solve a problem, that bring more good and more God into the world. There's another thing about Doug Dietz's story that struck me. He didn't say, "Wow, I have to recreate a whole MRI scanner," because he'd already tried and tried and tried and tried to make it quieter and smoother. And there's only so far you can go with what we currently understand. And it still clanks and whirs and makes noises. And you still have to be lying still, and you still have to have this piece of machinery really close to you, because that's the way it works, right? He didn't go so far that his mind said, "You can't do that." Too often we do, don't we? We want to go from 0 to 100 in a nanosecond. We want to go from $10 an hour to $100 an hour in one step, after one review, so to speak. And our mind says, "How's that going to happen?" He didn't do that. He said, "What is a step I can take to make this experience better now for these kids?" And then he said, "Wow, I could change this from ordeal to adventure." And then he went to the next step after that and the next step after that. Sort of if we start where we are and lean toward lean toward that vision we have for ourselves, our dream, a step becomes apparent, one step. And then we take that step and we're in a different place. And then when the dust settles, we say, what's the next step? And we lean into that and we take another step and we're in a different place. We're moving step by step towards the fulfillment of our dream. What if we did that? You know, I don't know about you, but sometimes we do a practice here, a spiritual practice called visioning. And you can join us, by the way, this coming Wednesday at 6 p.m. if you would like to join us for visioning. Is it 6? It must be. Yeah, 6 o'clock. We do this spiritual practice, and sometimes you catch a glimpse of this big vision. And I get terrified. I get terrified. That's what I'm supposed to do. That's where I'm supposed to head. That's what's going to be required of me. Oh, I'm going home. Because it's big. And sometimes we have a big dream. And we kind of react to it the same way and go, oh, I don't know. I can't see how that's going to happen. That's the thing about a big vision or big dream. There's no way we know how every step's going to happen. If I once heard someone say, if your dream does not require the help of an outside power, it's too small. If your vision and your dream doesn't require spirit, it's too small. But when we catch a glimpse sometimes of those big things, we go, I can't do that. But if we take a step and take a breath, then we know what the next step is about. And then we can take another breath. And all the while we're building our conviction that the vision is unfolding by means of us. You know, we take one step and then the next step becomes apparent. So we take that and then the next step becomes apparent. And we also gain confidence along the way, because as we become more confident that we are indeed divinely creative beings, the more willing we become. We become willing to say no when we need to say no, because something is leading us off the direction of our dreams. And we become more willing to say yes when we need to say yes. We become more willing to take risks, push ourselves out on the edge just a little bit, and we become willing to open our hearts and our minds a little bit more to see those steps that keep showing up one by one by one. So my invitation to you today maybe has 3 parts. And the first is to look at what you've already created. It is amazing. A family, a life, a job, dinner, a book, a poem, whatever it is. It's amazing, all the things you do that require your creative action. They may not be art forms, but they're absolutely creative. They're the products of the creative urge. Realize that that's always happening in you and say to yourself, I am creative. I am creative. As Ernest Holmes said in today's reading, it is impossible to escape the creative urge. It's always happening in us. It's always moving us into our next greater way of expressing. And when we can realize, which is the second part of my invitation, that we're the master of that creative flow, that we can change where it flows to and shape it with our thoughts and our words and our actions, then we can open ourselves up to our own hearts and say, what is it I want to create with this divine power I was born with? That is an innate part of who I am. And then spend time there, listening, asking, feeling for the answer and the next step and the step after that. And then take that step. Whatever you can do right here and right now to move you in the direction of your dream or your vision, because nobody deserves the fulfillment of your dreams, the manifestation of your vision. Nobody deserves that more than you. Nobody. So take a breath with me. And in this now moment, I remember what I know to be the very truth of existence, of all of existence. That there is only one. There is only one power and presence, one creative urge that births out of its own being all that exists, and that maintains with love all that exists. That wakes us in the morning and regulates the beating of our hearts and the breathing of our breaths, that fills us with life and creativity and ideas and questions, and whispers in our ear, this is the next step for you, my beloved. And it flows through us all, every day, every moment, every second, all the time. For it is the life we live. It is the one life of God, and we all partake in that. We all participate in that. We are all manifestations of that. And so what I know for each one of us is that we open to our own creativity. We say yes to that urge within us that says, you will do amazing things, more amazing than what you have done already. We lean into it and allow it to reveal to us the step to take right now and right here towards our dream fulfilled. And then we find the step after that and we say yes to that as well. And as a result, we grow. Our hearts grow bigger. Our love grows deeper. Our wisdom grows broader. Our light grows brighter. And we begin to paint our world newly with broad and beautiful strokes, with all the creativity that we have brought to bear on whatever is in front of us, whatever lights us up, whatever draws our heart toward it. And in so doing, we change ourselves, we change our lives, we change our world. We become more of what we came here to be. And because I know this is the truth about us, I give thanks. I release my gratitude along with these words into the infinite universe that has already said yes to them. It's already done. Thank you, God. I release it. I let it be. And we say together, and so it is. Amen and amen. Will our ushers please come forward? We have an opportunity right now to give in support of our community, that this place where, as we wake up to who we are, what we are, to our own magnificence, our lives begin to change in dramatic ways. So I say thank you to all of you for your gifts and contributions that make it all possible. Please take your gift in your hands and know with me, I am joyful.
I am joyful.
I am free.
I am free.
I am grateful.
I am grateful.
I give with gratitude.
I give with gratitude.
And I say yes
And I say yes
to all the good life has to offer.
to all the good life has to offer.
And so it is.
Let's hear about community first. Yes, let's come up and talk about it.
Where's your t-shirt? Oh, there's your t-shirt.
Take it off here.
It's cold this morning. So, okay, we just finished some training for home group leaders. 7 amazing people who are excited to lead what we call Sacred Circle home groups. And just in keeping with the message today, this is a wonderful way to create a new and deeper, richer community for us individually, and to help, I think, to support and sustain and create a deeper network within the whole center. So it's really just an opportunity, the Sacred Circle home groups, to get to know more of the beautiful people around you here in the center on Sunday mornings, to get to know each other more in another more personal setting. Meet together for food, laughter, sharing more personal perspectives on our spirituality once a month. And so I encourage everybody to pick up an application over here to get some basic information so we can start setting these up. We're going to be creating these and starting them in June. So I encourage you to get in on the ground floor. I think it's going to be like buying Apple or Google stock 25 years ago. You can say, I was in one of the first home groups that ever started, and in years we'll say, when there's 20, 25 groups, I was one of the first ones, and it's all led to this now. So I encourage you to get to that point, and if you have any questions, talk to any of the people up here. We'd love to talk with you more about it.
And actually, Keith misspoke himself, so I'm just going to do a quick correction. We actually have 5 groups starting. We have a men's group, we have a boomers group, we have a young adults group, and we have 2 general interest groups. So if any of those are interesting to you, or more than one, please take an application, fill it out, we'll be in contact with you, we'll get you in a group that is going to really help you connect with people and grow spiritually and have a really good time at the same time. So, thank you.
Reverend Cece,
Yes.
would you identify the young adults group with the age range?
I don't know what that is. Is it 18 to 35?
18 to 55. How's that? No, kidding. 18 to 35 is usually what we do. 18 to 36, 18 to 40, something like that. So.
Becky, just gonna cause trouble. Oh my goodness. Thank you very much. So talking about community and building the beloved community today, I want to talk to you just for a minute about how our kids are going to be participating in that. And one of the ways is through their gardening program. The gardening program is loaded with lots of little lessons along the way, but it's built on 3 pillars. The first pillar is literally seed, soil, plant. Now, if you've taken Foundations or Beyond Limits, you know what that refers to. If you haven't, we'll have a Foundations class in the fall. Please sign up for it. But this is the way we teach it to the kids. You give them a tomato seed, they stick it in the ground, it has the right kind of soil, the right kind of food, the right kind of light, the right kind of water. What do they get? They don't get cucumbers, do they? No, they get tomatoes. And so we know that's the way our thoughts work. When we think about something and we give it our positive energy and we give it our positive emotion, we don't get the exact opposite, do we? No, we get what we think about. So that's the first pillar, and that's how they're going to learn it. That's one of our very basic principles here. The second pillar is unity. They'll learn about unity through organic and sustainable practices. The gardens, or the facility will be dotted with bee and butterfly gardens. I'm really passionate about this, so I'm like, It'll be dotted with bee and butterfly gardens, and we won't use pesticides in the gardens. We'll use marigolds to keep bugs away. And so that's how they learn that we're all connected. And that what we do, if we use a pesticide, we harm the bees. If we harm the bees, we end up harming ourselves eventually. So that's the second pillar. The third pillar is service. The third pillar is the spiritual practice of service. When the vegetables start coming in, they might feed us. They might sell those vegetables and donate that money. Or there might be a field trip, and they will take it to the food bank and give away that food. So the third pillar is service. And in all of this, they're building their own community. We're going to have a new play set for them. So what better way to build community than to play together? And they're going to be pulling weeds and gardening and learning all these things together. This is one of the ways that they're going to be building their community together. So a few weeks ago, it was Seed Planting Sunday, right? So I get all the kids together and I'm moving them over because it's meditation time, and we were meditating with dirt last month. And if you don't volunteer with them, you missed out on meditating with dirt, let me just tell you. So I get all the kids over there, or I think I've got all the kids over there, and I look around and I think, I don't have everybody, and I turn around, and I'll tell you, I don't have children. So I turned around, and what I saw struck a little bit of terror into my heart. It was a little girl showdown. We have one tie-dye beanbag. One. I don't know why it's not a good idea. We had one tie-dye beanbag, and my two youngest girls are on either side of it with a little girl handful and a little girl frown. And I did the one and only thing that I knew to do. I ran to them. And I said, okay, ladies, we're getting ready to plant seeds. What do you want to do? And you cannot tell me that there is no God, because I heard one of them say, let's share. They pulled that beanbag over, they sat on it together, they did the meditation together, they stood together when they planted the seeds, they sat together in the class. They built community. Just in that one little moment, they built that community. So where these sacred circles, where these home groups are building community for us, this gardening program is a way that they build community for themselves. And this is an opportunity for all of us. Not only do we model that community building behavior for them, we can help them create it. You're holding that opportunity in your hands right now. In your flyer, or in your bulletin, there is a flyer, and it's a list of some of the things that the kids need. It's a very short list. It's actually shorter than it should be, because I got really excited and I made it too fast. But there's not a whole lot there. Take a good look at it. Take a good look at it. This is a gateway for us, each of us here, to help our kids build this community. I just want you to think about this for a second. Think about what we're creating here together. This isn't just about a swing set or vegetables. It's about the lifelong lessons in love and compassion and cooperation that way too many of us in this room had to learn through the School of Hard Knocks. These are lessons that we can give our kids right here in this loving and affirming place. And what we get back doesn't have a price tag. We get to watch our kids grow up into these lives of peace and ease and grace, and watch them change the world in ways we could never have imagined. There are future members of our congregation back in those classrooms. There are future members of our leadership council back in those classrooms. There are future practitioners back in those classrooms. Our future minister may be back in one of those classrooms right now. What we give now will feed us for decades. So here's what's going to happen. After service, I'll be in the lending library. If you don't know where that is, if you head that way toward the door, instead of going left out, you're going to go to the right. Walk past the social hall and you'll see me. And I'll be waiting there for you. Waiting there for you to let me know how you're going to participate in the kids' gardening program. I don't know what is yours to do. Maybe it's an item on that list. Maybe it's something else that you've got an idea for that you want to talk about. Maybe it's a financial donation for the play set. Maybe it's you yourself. Maybe you're sitting there thinking, yeah, I'll get my hands dirty once a month. I'll pull weeds, I'll pick vegetables, I'll push a swing, I'll laugh and have a good time. Sign me up for that joy. Whatever it is, this is our time. This is our time to say yes to one another. This is a time to say yes to our future. And this is a time to say yes to our beloved community. So I'll be waiting for you and your yes in the lending library after service. So now we're going to have Jane come up. Jane, come up and talk about the picnic coming up.
While Jane's walking up, part of that playground too is going to be building something specifically for our teens also outside, just a teen space outside. So they'll be letting us know what they want.
Thank you.
Just want to remind you, you should have had a nice colorful insert in the bulletin today that talks about the spring picnic. And as I'm sitting here listening to what people are saying, I think we have a deal for you. When I heard what we need to do and the opportunities, what I'd like to suggest is, we're talking food here, and I think there's two other things that might go with that, and it's friendship and fellowship.
And so with that said, what we'd like to suggest is that the food is always first, because people can't think or do anything if they're hungry. So after church next Sunday, we hope that you'll be able to bring something with you besides your appetite and your family. But you and some food is 2 weeks. I'm sorry. This, I've been in June already, so let's go back.
We'll bring the June weather.
Anyhow, next week is Mother's Day, and then next week is the picnic then, the 21st. So food, beverage will be furnished by the church, utensils, etc. And on here it speaks to what kind of food and all will be prepared for you, and then what you can possibly bring with you besides yourselves. And also besides this food piece, I think we need to acknowledge we've had several activities this month or celebrations. We've had Easter, we'll have Mother's Day, and then Memorial Day comes up at the end of the month. And I think this is an opportunity for us to take pause and realize what's all going on in the world and what we need to be thankful for. So I think that's it. Like I said, it's all written down if you need it. And Kelly is your point person. If there's anything that you need to have a question, you're going to be at the Welcome Center. Is that where you're going to be today?
Yeah, I'll be here.
Okay.
Mary's going to bring volleyball.
Okay, yes.
Volleyball.
So there will be some competitive
Volleyball
games.
players step up.
Yeah.
So there'll be some competitive games and some ways of actually being some one-on-one or with a smaller group, so that you can indeed learn to know and appreciate each other.
Thank you.
Thank you.
One more thing. I feel like I'm at the Oscars.
Sorry, this won't take long, Kitty. Today at 12:15 in the social hall, no, in the back room, sorry. I am going to be leading a laughter yoga session. And laughter yoga doesn't mean that we're going to be getting down in yoga positions. We're going to run around and look at each other and make silly faces and have a fun time, because laughter is helps bring peace to the world. And today is International Laughter Yoga Day, the first Sunday of every May. This is May, right?
Yes.
You guys have me confused with all these. But anyway, it's a fun time. I have some refreshments for us. It's a way to build community. It's a way to build friendships. It's a way to create peace in the world, and that's going to be happening all across the world today. So hope to see you in the back.
You good?
And Becky, you're coming.
Becky's got to be there now.
It is fun.
Okay, so very special thank you to the beautification team. They meet every first Saturday. The place looks great. Ladies and gentlemen of that team, thank you very much. Thank you very much. So if you would like prayer after service, look for the licensed prayer practitioners. We're wearing one of these or something similar to this. We would love to pray with you. We offer it every Sunday as our 1-minute miracle. There's also the prayer chest in the back. You can request prayer online, or you can give the phone line a call too. So now everybody, for the first 3 minutes after service ends, don't talk to anybody you know very well. Strike up a new conversation, get your hugs, come see me in the Lending Library. Thank you to everybody who made this morning's service possible, ushers and greeters, practitioners, welcome team, the Higher Mind Band, and of course all of you. So please stand with me for the closing affirmation and our closing song, We Are One. So please affirm with me, I am a joyful, creative being.
I am a joyful, creative being.
I am confident in my ability
I am confident in my ability
to create the world of my dreams.
to create the world of my dreams.
And so it is.